Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cosmere Connections. We're a collective of book-loving nerds rereading Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. From book 1 to book 16 million, we'll be uncovering every secret connection there is to find. On our show today, we have Swiggity Swoo,
Hey, what's going on?
John,
I have no witty introduction for myself this time.
Kay,
It's my lucky hat. I ain't never died wearing that hat.
and I'm Reader Warrior. And we have a special guest, our first technically returning guest, Jason.
Hello, it's me, and that's true as titanium.
I did love that line. And today we're going to be covering Mistborn, The Alloy of Law, Era 2, chapters 10, 11, and 12. Making sure that's right. Part 2, chapters 10, 11. Are we in part 2 or are we in part 1?
I don't think there's parts in this book.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, are there parts in this book?
I'm going to be so real. My heart dropped for a second when you didn't know what we were going through. I'm like, oh, did I prepare for the wrong weeks? Oh, man.
No, you did. Well, the thing is, okay, I see what the issue is. On the leather-bound edition, it has it in Parmals. It does not.
And this is
Really?
So
of
that's where my
Shadows of
confusion
Self,
lies.
right?
Yeah, it clearly is
No,
Shadows
Alloy
of
of
Self.
Yeah.
No, there were parts. Trust me, when I found out that, I was like, oh no. Okay. But yes, chapters 10, 11, and 12.
I have confirmed.
Jason is confirming. Thank you very much. I am not insane in
However,
this regard.
there are no parts in the paperback version.
My book has no parts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is strange, but I have UK cover now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there are no
But-
parts in the Portuguese version either.
Thank you for confirming.
That's a random language poll.
A Liga da Lei, cara.
Before we
Whoa.
jump right in, Jason, do you know how the structure of a typical Cosmere Connections reread, review, recap segment goes?
I don't. Could you please explain to me how the typical structure is?
Absolutely. This was not scripted at all or planned beforehand. So what we'll typically do is we'll do chapter set, which is 3 chapters of 10, 11, and 12. I do have that right. And we'll do it in a non-spoiler sense. We'll do anything that is covered up until that point, and we are allowing Era 1 as long as it's not just, hey, remember that one time where this happened? It kind of has to be tied to, oh, we referenced this character, we referenced this point, or this is a build on that thing from Era 1. And then we'll have our little break, and we'll come back, we'll recover those, but we'll typically just cover them in a spoiler sense, and that can be anything from Stormlight to Trust of the Emerald Sea to random thing that could happen in the future.
Elantris to Isles of the Emberdark.
Yep.
Oh,
And then
Cool.
at the
I think
end,
I got it.
we
Sounds
all
good.
vote somebody off the podcast.
Permanently.
A survivor element, huh? Wait a minute. A survivorist element. Oh my gosh. You guys are thinking with portals here.
How do you think we
Okay,
tally the votes?
So, so John, you better put on a good show because I believe you have chapter 10.
I do. And I have abbreviated it because, for brevity, you know.
For brevity.
For
We're all
brevity.
about that over here.
So our heroes take a carriage to the 5th Octant on their way to investigate their lead. Marasi worries that she has made herself seem weak or inexperienced in front of her hero, Wax, but she forces herself to do better and is kind of fighting that mental battle in her brain before she finally works up the nerve to ask about how Wax's uncle died and get some conversation going. Wax tells the story pretty bare bones, no details, and she picks up on, hey, you seem really kind of upset about that. And he's like, oh, yeah, I regret not having spoken to them more, in the last however long it was. And we get a little sass back from Wayne about people being crushed, which is what Wayne does. And how... wow, ball dropped. Terrible, terrible. Rewind. Wax explains that they were killed in a carriage accident and crushed to death. And then Wayne makes the joke about people being crushed, and yeah, womp womp. The story gets interrupted a little bit when Wayne hears that Wax has a fancy nickname, Dawn Shot, and is immediately jealous of that and thinks it should be his nickname because he likes a shot of whiskey in the morning. And there's a little more banter back and forth, which is incredibly interesting.
He's never seen Dawn accuse Wax, and then he's like, yeah, I have, but I haven't gone to bed.
Which is just
so good. I just love the dynamic between the two. They're such a good pair. And it's one of the reasons I love the Outlive Law so much is the chemistry between our main leads here. It just reads so much like a movie, and I just love it.
It's
Sorry to
definitely
interrupt
got
you.
that. No, it's okay. Thanks for the save. It's definitely got that Hollywood buddy movie kind of vibe to it.
Yes, it does. So much so that I've been like wanting to go watch some of those, like a Shanghai Noon or like a Men in Black kind of movie.
There you go.
It
Yeah.
definitely has that aesthetic.
Well, it's kind of fun to watch because when Wax first returns to Ellendale in those first couple chapters, he's not like this. It's only by Wayne inserting himself back into his life that he's slowly starting to smile, have fun, and joke back more.
Yeah, absolutely. Wayne even makes a comment about it a little later on that, oh no, he's always like that, but when he's himself, there's a little smile underneath. We also learn about a new character that we've never heard about, called Renette. I wonder who she is and what she does. So they finally get to the now abandoned hideout, which turns out to be an old warehouse. And Wax and Wayne go in and explore and find some explosive booby traps. Well, Marasi waits outside, and she's kind of just like, I don't want to do this. I'm going to let them do it. That sounds really good. So eventually they come back out, bring her in, and they begin their inspection. They do find little bits of aluminum, and the windows are all sooted up, and the doors open relatively easily. And the two actual investigative minds, Wax and Marasi, put together that they were actually using this place and moving big things in and out, and it was probably where they were producing all of their aluminum guns and all of these things. It shows they were not just making Marasi also deduces that they were moving cargo in and out, which means that besides just bringing their loot here, they were also shipping things, and that creates a lead for them to follow. So Wax decides he's going to go outside and investigate and look around and see if he can find any evidence of that. Well, Wayne and Marasi go and search upstairs for more clues. This is where we get a little...
There's another secret.
Yes. This is where we get a little bit of Wayne's backstory, and we learn why he doesn't like guns. And he finds a box full of explosives, a third trap that they had missed before, and in that box of explosives, propping up the dynamite, was a cigar box, which proves to be a clue that Wayne is sure Wax will immediately recognize what it is and why it's important and who they belong to. And it's a box of fancy pants cigars with some numbers written on the inside of the lid.
Like you do.
To be
Like
fair,
you do.
when he does show it to Wax, Wax does recognize it immediately.
I'm getting there. Getting there. So yeah, they have their little heart-to-heart, and Wax comes back in, and they show him what they found. And Wax goes, "Oh, have you ever heard of someone called Miles Degoute?" And Marasi's like, no. Oh yeah, Miles 100 lives. And he says, we're gonna go for a little trip, and I'll tell you some stories along the way. And yeah, he comes up with that name almost immediately after seeing the box of cigars, just as Wayne had predicted.
It's also because I would say it's not just the cigars, because he had an inkling that it was Miles back at the ball that happened. He was like, he definitely thought it was Miles. He was already kind of on that track.
He was. I just forgot about that because I've of technical difficulties on production end of this podcast. I've read these chapters and the previous chapters about 7 times, and they've all jumbled up in my brain. So I forgot that came first.
As you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I love that we're calling it a ball. I'm pretty sure it was a wedding, but because it was like
It
technically
was
a
in
ball.
a ballroom. It was
Yeah.
basically a ball. Also, I'm just salty that Reader took my ball chapter.
I knew it.
Exactly.
I mean,
I could feel the glare through the screen when she said ball.
Mhm.
I don't know. So let's see. Did you guys catch that there was a different kind of booby trap that they found?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the nudie
oh
cards.
yes,
So
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
found
makes
those. I don't know. It's an interesting look into some of the worst parts of Wayne's character, because we have he's pretty good at doing his job. He can be a good law keeper when he wants to be, but also some of the things he says to Marasi when giving like his backstory and the surrounding spiel is kind of sexist and unwanted by Marasi. And I know that there's been a little bit of Wayne is kind of a controversial character sometimes amongst people I talk to about Era 2, because they think that he is not a great person. He's obviously he murdered an innocent man before. He is he says crude things and doesn't really respect women at first, it seems. But I don't know. I think Wayne is a character who's using crass language to cope with the world and to approach people in a less formal way. I think that's a deliberate choice by Wayne. I don't think it's a great choice, but it's still a way to engage with people and open them up to further conversation.
Wayne is such a character. His character is based entirely on his ability to read people and manipulate people to like get them to give him answers that he wants. And I do agree with you, like that his like using that crass language is intentional. Like I think he does use it intentionally, because I think especially with Marasi in these instances, I think he's purposely trying to throw her off a little bit to, and in a way to kind of like make her less serious, because he could see how like tense she is in these instances, and it does like kind of throw her for a loop a little bit.
I could see it partially as that, but also partially I think he's a little bit threatened. This is a woman that, in his own words, he's like, you guys get along great, you and Wax is the smartest man I know. You are now the smartest woman I know, and you guys have been. I listen, to you guys all talking philosophy.
There's also the
It's like,
element of trust. Wayne just barely met Marasi, and he doesn't necessarily trust her yet. As a matter of fact, he thinks that she's hiding something from him, which we learn, I think, in the next chapter. But this might be a way to get her on the back foot to perhaps confront her on these things that he doesn't trust.
Wayne is Wayne's
It's really
relationship with Marasi is interesting to me because he represents the ideal of her worldview, in which the main difference between Marasi and Wax, right, is Wax chases criminals and Marasi wants to fix the system so that there are less criminals being produced. And in a way, like, Wayne is like a reformed criminal, right? And he's this kind of controlled chaos, and his way of seeing the world is painted by him being from the roughs, and her having to deal with him directly is like a very direct way of her having to deal with the people she wants to help and reform. So I like
it
their
is
dynamic in that
very
way. Sorry.
it is very interesting for a character that we have established and seen who's so good at reading people and understanding their voices and where that has led them through life, that he is so spectacular with his own, that he tries to make it stand out, and that he tries to be crass with Marasi, or he tries to do all these things. And I feel like he's trying to stand out in that way so maybe others don't see the worst parts in him. Maybe he's trying to say that he is maybe worse than he is so people aren't can be I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I do get it though.
Yeah,
And
sure.
like sometimes he drops it a little bit and gets like serious, and you
Yeah.
know you see a different side to him.
And like he was raised, well, to the best we know, was raised in the roughs, and he is from that part. So I imagine like he started out with all of that, and that's what his initial self is built upon. But then he learned, how to read voices and how to be different people. But he still goes back to that because maybe that's what he knows best, or because he knows other people will be off put by it. Do. We get some fun. Are we gonna say who the Lord Mistborn is?
You had me bleep it when John said it in episode 2.
I did.
Yeah.
No, I think I did. But either way, yeah.
I can't really
well, we
remember
learned-
Because
when
it's
revealed.
not stated. It's not. I don't think it's stated who the Lord Mistborn is. I think you kind of get it from context.
Well, no, you get it at the end of
We'll wait then. But we learned that the Lord Mistborn chose the name Elendel, and I also looked back at the map and saw that Hamindar Bay is also there, and I thought that was hilarious.
Map?
At the beginning of the book, there's always a map, Swiggity. What do you mean there's a map? Why are
We've
you
been over this
surprised
again.
about this?
Whoa, there's totally
always
a map.
a map.
There's a map. Who would have thought?
There's an even better map.
Have you ever
from
seen the
next
map of the
page.
basin? There's even more fun Easter eggs there.
Oh yeah, the
Roshekin?
Yeah, that's pretty
Doxanaw.
Yeah, that one feels weird though. Why would you name a country after the 1,000-year racist?
Because
city?
that is where some of the obligator priests set up shop after the Catasonder.
Yeah. Where do you get the Sea of Yomand, Doxanar? Yeah. But you're
Vindia.
nothing dwell.
Demu Promenade.
Felt Troll. Some really fun ones. But you also get a reference to Merrill flowers, which is a reference to Kelsier's wife's name and the flowers that she wanted returned.
That's right.
Aw.
It's the flowers that he made based off the picture that Kelsier gave to Vin, that she then gave to Sazed.
Magically left for.
There.
There's also a reference to the last emperor and the ascendant warrior.
Nice.
Love your tattoo,
Swiggity,
Swiggity.
for those who are only, Swiggity was showing off his Merewell flower tattoo that he has on his arm.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to grow Merewell flowers in your garden, I would recommend growing great white trilliums. They look... Come on, focus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very
Those
nice.
look
Yeah.
like Merewells.
They do look like Merewells.
We should produce like a Mistborn test pilot.
That would be fun. I've kind of wanted to do with not Unity. What's the other one?
Unreal.
Unreal. Yeah, I've kind of wanted to try to learn Unreal and just sort of do what the Epic musical has done, where they just one at a time release it. Like, let's just do chapter by chapter of editing of animating in Unreal.
It's a challenge. I've started using Unreal for some of my motion graphics, and it takes a long time to build a scene, like fleshing it out all the way from scratch. So,
all we need is Ash.
Let's see. Last emperor. Who was the first emperor? To the best of my knowledge, there was only one emperor in the final empire. Like, that's my main critique right there.
Well, so technically, before the Lord Ruler took over, there were other like kingdoms, and I assume that there were other people who called themselves emperor.
Yeah, fine.
I mean, the last emperor was Elend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
for 1,000 years before that, for Ellen, they had king, and before kings, they had, Lord Tyrant. They have Titanium.
just throw it on the
which I thought
pile
was-
of pre-Rashik Scadrial things we want to learn someday. It seems like it would be just an insane
Mhm.
cultures.
Mhm.
They have Titanium. There's a reference to the God Beyond.
I know
They have
Wayne says
Dynamite.
that.
I thought that was a weird.
Like the God Beyond.
Yeah.
I hear you,
There's
Cloud.
some weirdness about Dynamite that threw me off initially, but I suppose.
What's
is-
weird about it to you? That it's named Dynamite?
Not that it's just that they're so like, this stuff's called Dynamite. It's like, why did you have to specify Dynamite?
There was a
Because
point
it's
in
very
time where it
Western.
was
Right, because the
a
book
new
before
thing.
this, we had horses and classical
Well, so if
schedule.
they like visually, like in my mind, I see a stick of dynamite. I don't really need it to be told like
But
it's
the
dynamite.
characters needed to be told that it was dynamite. Marasi has probably never seen dynamite before in her life.
She's read all of series, but she has never heard of dynamite.
I said she's never seen it. Not that she hasn't heard of it. Like she might not have actually like
Big old
physically
red stick that says
seen
dynamite written on the side.
You
Yeah,
gotta
no, it's
remember,
not.
they don't have TV yet. They don't have cartoons to show them what a stick of dynamite looks like.
Exactly. What is going to be their Roadrunner? Who knows?
You know what? I think a better question would be, why do we all know dynamite like it's a household object?
Because of Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah,
Like,
because of the Roadrunner.
we shouldn't all collectively be thinking of dynamite like, yeah, everybody knows dynamite. You don't know dynamite? What are you, a moron?
You know that bowling ball with the candle wick coming out of it? Yeah, we all know that.
It's
Never seen it
TNT.
before in my life, but yeah. And my last thing about this is actually the comments about all the nudes actually sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole, where the first nude female photographs appeared in France in the early 1840s.
Checks out that it
keep
was
in mind-
France.
Yeah. Keep in mind that the first camera was really made in 1839 with daguerreotype. So literally
Also
a
sounds
year.
about right.
And then I looked up into westerns. By the time of the American Wild West 1860s to 90s, nude photography, both artistic and erotic, was already being imported, reduced, and sold in frontier towns. It was off brothels
The
and
imported
male-dominated
part's
spaces.
sending me, man. Like, yes, I got
Yeah.
my Irish beer, my French bubbly, and also my French nudies imported.
I hope you had safe search on. That's
Serving as early pinups for cowboys and miners. ERS.
as a
Yeah.
Now, see, they know all about TNT. They know
Sure.
all about dynamite.
Yep. And that's all I got for chapter 10. Thank you, John, for laughing at that really bad joke.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
I just love the in-world sayings, pinch of copper, true as titanium. And there was one more that I forgot to write down from that this chapter, but it just adds
Old
so
as
much.
brass.
Bold as brass. Is that what it was?
I think I know that's one of them. I don't know if it was from this chapter or not.
Anyway, it just adds
love
so
it.
much flavor and character to the world. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
I actually used bold as brass in real life tonight.
Jason, I believe you have taken chapter 11.
Okay, so after our intrepid crew examines the lair, we find out where our ne'er-do-well vanishers ended up, and they relocated to a burgeoning subway underground. And this is their new hideout. They're talking about kind of how their numbers have just been decimated and they're having trouble recruiting people at the rate they need to. Because, like, boss, what do you expect? We got massacred, dude. Like, this is a PR nightmare. How are we going to hire anyone?
One guy took us all out.
How dare you? We also
two
get
and one woman.
Yeah. We also get some more information about Miles and his philosophy, kind of his existential conflict at the two sides in him of wanting to simultaneously tear down the system but still uphold some form of law. He sees himself as a lawkeeper. He tries to remind his men of that by using a lighter that has like a sigil or insignia from some lawkeepers out in Far Dorist, I believe. It makes the men uncomfortable. And then he has a lovely discussion with Mr. Suit, where they're talking about the recent blunders at the wedding reception, needing more aluminum and planning the next heist. And Mr. Suit seems to have lost some faith in Miles, and Miles doesn't care for that because they're planning the next heist without Miles and just saying, hey, we've drafted the plans. You're just going to execute it this time. We will give you what you need, but you aren't going to be involved in the planning process. And Miles doesn't really care for that. He wants to keep the Vanishers illusion going. He thinks that it's important to have this very extravagant, these well-known criminals, sensationalism, to keep the police off of their trail. And so that's kind of the first part of the chapter. Is there anything we want to talk about there before going on to the kind of end part with Wax and Wayne and Marasi?
Wait a bit. Have you guys ever seen the movie Rustler's Rhapsodies?
No.
No.
It was spoof movies, right? Like Airplane, Top Secret, or what was the new one with Liam Neeson?
Naked Gun.
Rustler's Rhapsodies was a Western spoof movie where they poked fun on spaghetti westerns, where they have one of the main characters be this cowboy that comes into town and he knows all of the tropes of every single Western movie. It's like, oh, there's always a colonel wanting to build a railroad or something. That I feel is what my like, where he's like, I know all the tricks to this. I know how we got to play this. We got to keep up the charade because otherwise everything is gonna go upside down. And that's kind of the vibe I got from Miles.
I also think it's interesting that they were like kind of like kicking themselves about keeping Steris and Marasi on the list. They're like, we shouldn't have done that. We should have taken them off the list because they were too close to Wax. Like now he's not gonna leave it alone.
They stole his bride to be. They stole
Oh,
his
boy.
favorite and lucky hat.
Well, also, like, one of the things at the beginning is like, oh, we can't meet demands, where all this funding issues and I'm like, this is Kelsier back in book 1, where they were trying to gain followers, gain supports, and what was Kelsier trying? He was trying to get rid of a tyrannical government, trying to get rid of the one percenters that were hurting his people. What is Miles trying to do? Trying to overthrow the quote unquote tyrannical government, the one percenters that are hurting his people.
But he's a
What
poser,
makes
like, because Kelsey, like, the Final Empire was so much worse, and you know, he's like a radical. The way he's going about it is clearly like kind of crazy. You know,
But Kelsier was also crazy. Like this has been Sanderson himself has stated this with like if Kelsier was in a different book, he would have been the villain. Like we're seeing it a little bit here with Miles, where like in this book, Miles is the villain. Like
yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's because of two things. One, Miles does not seem to have Kelsier's charisma at all.
I
And
mean, who
two,
does? Who does, to be honest?
Charisma
I
your
do
bread
want to
and butter.
defend. I do want to defend Kelsier and say that like he's a totally different animal than Miles. Like, you know, Miles, like, he has like this anger, like this lashing out that he has to try to control, and he lets his men just go crazy when they're like robbing the people. Kelsier, like, he did slaughter noblemen on his own, but I think I've touched on this before. There was lines he definitely wouldn't have crossed that I think make Miles more of a villain.
well,
I don't necessarily agree. I think if someone was a nobleman, there is no line for Kelsier.
I would say there's killing people, but then there's like kind of worse things he could do. I don't think he would do that.
Oh, I agree. I just mean like men, women, and children. If they are noble, Kelsier sees that as removing the problem.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But like I kind of sorry. I'll let
no,
you
go
continue.
ahead. It's another topic, so go ahead.
My thing is maybe it's more of like a social aspect where back in the Final Empire, it was literally just the nobles. They decided anything, and Kelsier was part Ska and he was fighting for Ska rights, and they didn't have any representation. Here, this isn't a world filled by murder, murder, stabby, stabby 100% of the time. They could talk to the government, they could raise awareness. We've seen slightly in the broadsheets that there are people wanting to talk, but we're seeing a character that is ignoring that. Kelsier had no choice but to fight because talking wouldn't have done anything. Miles has that choice, but he's being murder, stabby, stabby, and that's not exactly the best thing.
Right? That's like taking the easy way out. It's just
He doesn't believe he can talk, though. That's the problem. He believes that the people of the city and the people of the roughs are like fundamentally separate, and that the haves in the city cannot be reasoned with or made to see and understand what life is like for the have-nots. Like that's one of the things that he talks about with Suit. And he's like, Suit is like, I am one of those people, and he's like, you have other things that recommend you. He believes in his mind and heart that that's his solution is the only way.
I could see that.
And to defend Miles a bit in that own vein is that he's in the roughs, and that's not exactly the law town that Ellendale is. He's in a fairly lawless area, so he has gotten that bit of roughness. But the problem is there's still that aspect he could pursue that he is not.
I think a theme across all of Mistborn, Era 1, Era 2 and presumably in the future is it's kind of a cautionary tale about societies that have their origin myth in violent revolutions. When your founding mythology is we had these noble leaders with good intentions that forged this new empire and this new organization out of the ashes of what came before by overthrowing it in a violent manner, people look back to that. So Rashek, he came to power through conquest, through becoming the sliver of infinity and just laying waste and moving the planet. Elend, Vin, Kelsier, well, not really Elend, he didn't, he just kind of stepped in at the end there. They overthrew the previous system through a violent revolution, an uprising of the oppressed class, overthrowing the ruling class. And then what we're seeing now is what happens when those leaders of the people who overthrew the previous regime, they themselves become the oppressive ruling class. Waxilium is part of that. House Tekiel, every name that we have of our previous heroes are in positions of power. And we're seeing that cycle perpetuate itself. They're setting themselves up, they're accruing more wealth and influence, and the people beneath them are recognizing this inequality. And not just in this book, but a little bit in the future as well. This theme continues, and it's just a cautionary tale, in my opinion.
And if we
Well
want to
said.
look at it one way, Ellendale is Great Britain and the Roughs are the 13 colonies. And the way Americans went about getting their independence was not exactly peaceful in every single regard.
Mm-hmm. To pull from another series, the Red Rising series has this quote that I love, which is "Death begets death begets death," and if you start your cycle with death, it's just perpetuating.
Yep. What was it in the 100? Juice drain, juice drawn, or something. Blood for blood, or something.
Mm-hmm.
An eye for an eye, all that. Okay, the next half.
All right. So in the next half, it's shorter. The bulk of this chapter was kind of the Miles and the Vanishers fallout. It's basically that Wax, Wayne, and Marasi kind of debrief after their investigation of the warehouse. Wax express interest in sending Marasi away to where she's safe, and she's like, "The safest place is with you, bro. Where am I gonna go? That's safer than by your side." And then begrudgingly, he's like, "Well, if you're gonna be here with me, Marasi, what kind of allomancer are you?" Because using his amazing powers of deduction, Wax has determined that Marasi is an allomancer, and he's kind of narrowed it down to what he thinks it could be. She was really comfortable with the speed bubble that Wayne threw up. That's a weird way to say it. that Wayne put up. And that she carries metal vials in her purse. So it's revealed that Marasi Colmes is a pulsar, the opposite of what Wayne is. She creates slowness bubbles that are far larger and can compress time, well, extend time using less metal for a longer duration than Wayne can compress stuff. And then Wayne asks the question that pretty much everyone I think who's read Mistborn before is thinking like, well, what happens if the someone does a speed bubble and a slowness bubble at the same
that's
time?
in my chapter.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It bled together. You can cut that out. It's fine. I don't want to stop your Anyway, so that's the chapter, minus the thing that I said accidentally that bled into this. They confront Marasi about her powers and kind of her parentage, and yeah, that's what I got for the second half.
Yep, we learned that Marasi is a cadmium misting. And I'm only saying cadmium because we heard in a previous chapter that Wayne needed cadmium to make Bendalloy. And cadmium being the... what's the opposite of an alloy?
The base metal.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So we now have 14 out of 16.
That's right. Everybody's an Allomancer but me.
Ooh, I actually have a comment. I love how Allomancers are like extremely rare. Twinborns are even rarer, and yet 3 of our characters are Allomancers.
It's
3 of them
for
are Twinborns.
plot. It's just
So-
for
Also, it goes to like, for example, Lord of the Rings. There's like 5 wizards in the whole freaking world, and throughout the entire story, there's only 2 that we don't see on screen. So great events bring people with great power and great import together.
Mhm.
At least in fiction, you know.
Yeah. And we also learned that Miles 100 Live is a compounder, a twinborn of the worst type. He can use gold to enhance his gold ferrochemical ability, which is something we sort of saw with the Lord Ruler.
Good
Yeah,
description of
which is-
compounding, finally, too.
which is kind of why Wax was surprised when he shot Miles in the
And he went down.
in the scene, and Miles went down. That's kind of threw him off. He was like, "That shouldn't happen to Miles."
Yes.
I'm
And that
not even
reminds
gonna.
me.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Then I can say my piece.
I'm not even gonna think about the fact he could fake it.
Yeah.
Okay, so in preparation for this, I came across something that I haven't read before, which are the annotations from the Alloy of Law.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this portion from chapter 11 that I just want to read verbatim. It's 2 paragraphs. And so it's first Miles' viewpoint. Dan from my writing group thinks that this Miles scene is misplaced and thinks I should have held off from putting one in for a few more chapters. He thinks the second one is better placed. Dan usually has a good eye for these sort of things, so I'll admit I'm not 100% sure that I like this scene being here. However, that said, in the draft that Dan read, Wax wasn't sure if it was Miles until he saw the cigar box. Even then, there was a question. I decided because of feedback that it wasn't terribly realistic. Wax would have recognized the voice well enough from the start to begin suspecting Miles. So keeping that suspicion from the readers lacked authenticity. For that reason, in later drafts, I revised it so that Miles' name is mentioned in the first chapter where Wax starts suspecting him. So I thought that was interesting and reminds me of something that I think Kay said earlier about the cigar box and how he totally would have recognized Miles's voice or him before seeing the box. So you and Dan are on the same wavelength, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do kind of have to agree with Dan on this. I think Brennan does really well when he's made a sort of repetitive system with his writing style. And like we had in, like, not to get into spoilers, but in Elantris, like 3 character POVs that rotated. In Mistborn, you had, the 2 characters and they would jump back and forth. But there was still that. Here you get random Miles viewpoint followed up by short little Wax viewpoint. That I feel like you could save this for what in the Leatherbounds would state the beginning of part 3.
Kind of feels like an
But
excuse to cover up some of the plot holes a little bit. Like, Suit comes in, he's like, Miles, why are we doing this if this is a plot hole? Well, because we need to have this. Like, I can't remember all the specifics, but I was kind of getting that sense of like, this is explaining a lot of things and kind of setting up a lot of things. And I didn't have those questions, but somebody else might.
And the thing is, like, you couldn't put some of it at the end of chapters between 16 and 17 because, like, he builds up, we're gonna take the fight to him, and then at the end of 12, hey, we've done that. So it wouldn't make sense. But it does sort of, it confirms without a doubt that it was Miles. But I feel like readers could have been a little bit smart, and like if Wax said, "Hey, that's Miles's go-to cigar box," we would have been like, "Yep, 100%."
Hmm.
Like honestly, just include a line. He could have faked being dead. He surely had enough practice. I should have recognized it. He's used the same move how many other times when we were in the roughs. Do.
Yeah, it does. It never really felt like too much of a mystery. Where like when it was finally revealed and confirmed to be Miles, I wasn't like, "Ah, I knew it." It was just kind of like, "Yeah, it makes sense."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to be like an old Western. Was there really mystery
Yeah.
back in those days?
Yeah.
Right.
Was it usually the colonel that wanted to build a railroad?
And like even with the last chapter, right? Like we didn't really talk about, oh, how good was it that they sussed out all those clues. We were talking about like the interactions between Wayne and Marasi. That's the real gold of these books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the character interactions.
Well, particularly this one having been kind of meant to be a standalone at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it is kind of crazy that
Wasn't
you start
supposed
seeing already like, oh, Miles isn't even like the top of this gang. He's just
Yeah.
he's got his little gang, the Vanishers, and they're working for this seemingly bigger operation.
Which is what Wax theorized.
Yep.
Theorized that the Vanishers are working with, like, there are two groups that are working together.
He's good at that.
And let's see. There is a reference to the sliver being the Lord Ruler in this part. And then two things I forgot in the first one was Trelligism, which is we see that Sazed has, at least in some way, released all the religions that were in his copper mines in book format, and people are now returning to those. Because Trelligism is a reference to Trellism, which is one of the ones Sazed told Kelsier a long, long time ago. And then they also state, do they state magic? The word magic? Or am I just randomly writing down the word magic for some reason?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember them stating the word magic, but I also
Double checking why my note says that.
all right. We ready for chapter 12?
Please
Yay.
do.
Okay, this is a short chapter, so not a whole lot happens in this chapter. This is a Wayne POV, which Wayne POVs are just hilarious. I really enjoy them a lot. It's very fun to see into the way his brain works.
His twisted
And
perspective is always a blast.
Yeah. Did you figure out why you wrote magic, reader?
Mystery, power, and a pinch of magic. That could work wonders for his cause. It's when he's talking about all the reasons he wants the Vanishers.
Oh, cool.
Fun seeing magic used in a magician way and not in, magic way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's magical.
No, you're good. So, our trio has gone out to go investigate one of the sites of where the Vanishers took the cargo from one of the train cars. Try to see if they can find any clues there. They're looking around, so Wayne is talking to Marasi again, and Wax is like walking around as well, off to the side. Wayne is, of course, complaining about his hat, the fact that his hat is gone. The Wax owes him a hat because he traded the hat that the carriage driver had that, for a pretzel, and got his hat.
In that hat.
I ain't never died in that hat.
He hasn't died in this hat either.
I love how nobody's shy in this chapter of telling him that hat looks stupid. They both
everyone is
tell him.
like, that hat looks stupid of you.
You look ridiculous.
So him and Marasi are just kind of chatting, and Wayne is trying to play a wingman for Wax, even like without really knowing what Wax wants. But just because he was a good friend, he wants Wax to get over the loss of Lessie. Because he knows that Wax was really, really torn up by Leslie's death. So he's like, here, you need a rebound. Marasi's a cool girl. They'd probably get along. And he's like, Wax likes smart girls. You should go. You should try for that. You think?
Well,
He's
this is
kind of
kind of
feeding in Marasi's crush a little bit there she has going on.
well, he's like, your voice goes a few bit octaves higher, and you tried speaking fancy when you're around him, so you're attracted to him.
Yeah.
But this kind of tees into what Jason was saying like earlier, how Wayne isn't exactly the best character because Wayne knows Wax is trying to, I don't want to say swoon, court Marasi's cousin slash half sister.
Half sister. We know that they're half sisters by now.
Yeah. And he knows, and Wax has said, I am not interested in Marasi. She's too young for me. I am trying to make relations with Steris. And Wayne, while it is fun and comical, and he's very fun to listen to, he is blatantly ignoring that, and he's basically getting this girl's hopes up. Like, yeah, I want you and Wax together because it ultimately will serve my purpose. Because when he's with you, he's going to be more cowboy. If he's with Steris, he's going to be more government official.
Because he doesn't like Steris. He likes Marasi more than Steris.
But he also just cares about Wax, wants him to be happy.
And so it's kind of interesting to juggle those two character aspects where, yes, he's not exactly being the best person right now, but he's gosh darn fun way he does it. And it is important to read a character, recognize I really enjoy this character because it's fun, they're comical, I enjoy them swapping out hats for pretzels. But it's also important to recognize, yeah, he's not doing the right thing here. This is wrong of him. And
But
it shouldn't be bad to say that.
that's what I love about Wayne, though, is like he has a way of looking at the world that strips it of its context, and like he's just seeing like his friendship to Wax, and he's seeing what Wax has been through, and he's like, you know, even though his whole house or whatever is depending on him, like my buddy would be so much happier with this chick, like, and that may be a little crass, and yeah, it's not the right thing, but that's Wayne.
Let me see if I can find this quote real quick.
Oh,
Reaches
here we
up
go.
for a book.
While you're doing that, I don't know that Wayne is being quite so selfless about it entirely. I think he just doesn't want Wax to end up with Steris, whom Wayne does not like. And I think this is an equally equal parts like no there, yes here. Like he clearly likes one of them more than the other and is encouraging Wax to go that way.
It would be
Also-
interesting to talk about this in the context of where the series goes. I know that's not the scope of this episode, but I don't think we are supposed to like Steris as much as we're meant to like Marasi in this book. And I think that's just a side effect of it being planned as a standalone and not, continuing as a series.
Yeah.
There's probably some truth to that too.
Yeah. While you're looking for that quote, I'm gonna this chapter. So they, as they're investigating, they're talking about how like they're trying to figure out how they could have gotten all of the stuff out of the cargo train, the train car. Talking about speed bubbles. Wayne does ask Marasi if they were to both be burning their metals at the same time, what she thinks would happen. And she's like, there's been studies done on that. Like, they just cancel each other out. And he's like, you're no fun. That's not as fun an answer as I be. He doesn't say that, but like, that's the tone.
Just thanks,
um,
Wayne. Everyone who cares about Alamancy was thinking the same thing, so I'm glad we
Yeah.
got a resolution to this really fast.
And
yeah,
Brandon gave a
so
set answer. Wow.
yeah. And he thinks Marasi's power is cool. Marasi does not like her power. She thinks it's very lame. She doesn't think it's very useful, especially like she compares her power to Wayne's power, which is much more useful in a fight. Um, but Wayne is like trying to like hype her up on her allomancy a little bit, because he's like, but like, have you ever like wanted something like a day to like come sooner? Like you could just burn your cadmium, and then what you want to happen is there. You don't have to wait as long for it. Like that's kind of cool, and
You
she
can
can make
sit
her
in a movie theater and skip all those annoying credits and trailers and just get straight to the movie.
uh and she can make her bubble a lot bigger than Wayne can. Her bubble, she says that she can make it about the size of a small room, which is considerably bigger than Wayne's. Wayne can make his speed bubbles, and she can also burn it for longer because cadmium burns slower. Um, and we find out that she is what is called a pulsar. Uh, that is someone who burns cadmium is called a pulsar. Uh, so as they're talking, they're looking around, they're investigating. They find these like pressed, these like this like square of grass been pressed down into the ground. They're not quite sure what's going on there, and they notice that they don't see a lot of footsteps around. So it's clear that they didn't take the cargo out by manpower because there have been a lot more footsteps there. Footprints there on the ground. So they're trying to figure out how is this cargo vanishing? Like what is going on here? Did you find what you were looking for?
I did, but I'm trying to think of how I can work it back in because we were talking about Wayne as a character, but we've moved on from that. So if I can, I'll bring it up. But this is interesting. So
At the very least, you can do it in the spoiler section.
So we cut to the back part of this scene. Kind of they leave the area after this, and they're on the train heading back to Ellendale, and Wax is walking up and down the train. He's thinking, he's like, wait, Miles is going to go underground. He's going to go to ground because he won't want to be seen, but he's going to do one more heist to get some aluminum before he goes to ground, because that's what criminals do. And that is when he gets shot at. And he's like, "Oh, crap. I forgot. I'm not working with the criminal. It's a lawmaker. He's not used to running. He's used to chasing. And here is Miles ready to attack." That is
Here's
the end
Miles.
of the chapter.
what great pacing though. Like what reader could stop after the end of
Oh,
that chapter, right?
yeah.
I mean, that was one
Right.
of the things when I read this the first time that I loved about this book. It was so much faster paced than pretty much anything else he had written by this point, with the possible exception of The Emperor's Soul. But that is tangential. Yeah, it's beautifully engaging, this book.
I couldn't stop thinking about
I agree.
what would be the best job if you had Marasi's abilities, that you could just burn through your whole shift in like 5 minutes of your time, but still look like you were at work. Maybe security guard.
Yeah. I mean, I think practically, if you had a job where you had to be like monitoring a station for infrequent communication, you just burn that so the communications would come in faster and you wouldn't have to do the boring part of the job, which is just like staring at the console. What that job would be specifically, I don't know. But
Could you be
Well,
like
like keeping something safe. Like if he had to guard a safe and like nobody is allowed to open this for X amount of time, you just sit on top of it, pop bubble, and nobody's
Yeah,
gonna
but that's
come here.
dangerous because when the person, or when a deviant does show up to try and steal the thing you're sitting on, you have to be aware of them and react to them, and they're going at hyperspeed.
so here's the solution. You've got the vault and then a room and then a door into the room. Person who burns cadmium stands in the middle of the room with a bubble. So as soon as the door opens to get to the vault, like if they'll
Yeah.
open the door and they'll still be able to see you for sure. So like that's an issue. But you've got a bit of a buffer between that person and the vault.
Also, they
And-
wouldn't be able to shoot at you because you can't shoot through the speed bubbles because the bullets get deflected.
That's right.
So
They could hire like 2 guards that are burning cadmium, and they could work, 12-hour shifts and however long, and they, it would only take them like. Well, I'm not really sure what the ratio is, but
They only pay for the billable hours from within the bubble.
right.
they would.
Actually,
They get an idea.
guarding a train car, right?
Would probably.
You use your bubble on the train car. Nobody can get to the car that you're in because they'd have to cross into your speed bubble. But that causes some other issues because now the train is both moving in and out of the bubble, or your bubble is moving. There's some issues there.
They couldn't apply it to like a train car because something size and motion was something.
For speed bubbles, yes. Slowness bubbles would be a little different. So it was in regards to removing cargo from the train. If you were just trying to keep the contents inside safe, you could, because the bubbles would move along with a moving train.
Yeah. So
Wild.
I also pulled up the annotations from this chapter set. And Brandon actually goes quite a bit into the speed bubbles. And so, quote, I did research on this and got different answers from people on what really should happen if you could slow time like this. One of the issues is that light doesn't change speeds based on this sort of issue. So there was discussion on what things would look like inside out or outside looking in. It seems likely that there would be some sort of red shift and that things might grow more dim inside a speed bubble. This is all really very theoretical, and so in the end I decided that there was enough disagreement among scientists and with whom I spoke that it wouldn't be glaringly irregular if I just had the shimmer at the borders and stayed away from dealing with speed of light. There is a much larger issue. Yeah, there is a much larger issue dealing with slow time that rarely gets addressed, and he considered it conservation of energy. Inside the speed bubble, wax or wane are moving far more quickly and therefore have a ton of kinetic energy compared to those outside of it. And so, if a coin tossed from inside the bubble going outside would suddenly move with a proportional increase in speed, proportional to how much slower things were outside, you would in essence gain a speed bubble railgun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This is dangerous for narrative reasons. I've often said that the limitations of power are far more interesting than the powers themselves. One of the reasons for removing Mistborn and full Feruchemist from the setting was so we could focus on the usefulness of individual powers in Allomancy and Feruchemy. So I had to change a few things. Therefore, the rules became no shooting or throwing things out of speed bubbles, no moving speed bubbles, and a required couple second cooldown between creating different speed bubbles. The first rule broke required objects to be deflected when leaving the bubble, and that we have the bubble absorb kinetic excess energy when something leaves it. So no real guns. But this
But-
also, sorry,
Far future, magnets with charged Bendalloy grenades periodically on the rails. You launch launch a projectile
that could go
through
hard.
these bubbles that are mechanically operated. Oh man.
Oh my
Oh
God.
dude, Roshar's cooked. This is great.
There's also a thing that I've always wondered, and it's so Wayne is like, "Hey, I can't move a bubble once I've created it," and I've always just thought if it's an issue of that, why not just burn snuff, burn snuff, burn snuff, burn snuff, like rapid photo, like ye old picture making, ye old movie making. But Brandon apparently says there's a required second cooldown between creating different
Yeah.
speed bubbles.
They
Which-
mentioned that in the chapter again. They when we see Wayne fighting Wax, mentions that Wayne is most vulnerable in that brief time period between when he drops his his speed bubble and then he puts up the second one.
I always read that as like Wayne has to figure out where he wants to move to, and he needs to look out and gauge things before putting it up. This is a
I mean,
hard
he
set.
does, but it's also that you can't immediately put up another speed bubble. Like you have to take a second.
Yeah,
like-
which is weird.
It is a
It's
little
why?
bit weird. It's a
I
little
do
bit,
wonder
Yeah.
like if we could get like a Wayne point of view. I mean, we can't, but like when he realizes that he can put up another bubble, like is there an indicator like in his metal reserves that
There's a
okay,
mental clock that just like ticks down.
just like he presses Q in Overwatch and then it's slowly building up his ult again.
You can't use that power yet. Recharge.
maybe it's like
It's
I don't know, you're playing a game, right? And you hold the B button and like this little dotted line circle extends out from you. And then when you release it, that's where the bubble is. Like maybe he literally needs to take a second
He's
to
gotta
put the
charge it up.
bubble- Yeah.
I would hand wave this away as your power coming from the spiritual realm that fuels allomancy being slowed by the time dilation. So
Mhm.
that is taking a little bit of time to get back to you.
Yeah. There's also lemonade.
What?
of
I
course
just
there's
Okay.
lemonade. It's the
Hashtag
it's
random AF.
There was just a random line about lemonade, and I was like, we haven't established. We had a whole thing about cats are a thing in Arrow 1 because Vin commented she landed like a cat or something.
I appreciate it. I have been thinking a lot about the foods of the Cosmere and how people get what they can eat. Like on Lumar most recently is what I was thinking of, where like they have specific foods they mention and also not a lot of space for like agriculture. So how are they getting potatoes, for example? So I appreciate it. I like to know that they have lemons on Scadrial.
Same place.
Which
they
makes
get
me
in
wonder
Chowder.
probably
if
on
it's-
those random fruit trees that they have throughout Ellendale.
Oh yeah. I have to wonder if it's like UK lemonade or US lemonade. Probably US lemonade.
Mike's hard.
Because Sanderson is from the US, probably US lemonade. Yeah, definitely Mike's hard lemonade. Clearly.
Actually, what it is
Just
is
pulling out.
specifically from a Utah soda shop. That's the lemonade of Scadrial because Sanderson, Utah, soda shops, Utah. There you go.
At Dragonsteel Nexus, where the convention was compared to Swiggity and my hotel was, we would have to walk by this sort of, I want to say pub, but it's more of a bar. And they had like a sign posted outside that says, Brandon Sanderson drinks here or eats here. And I was
That's
just
funny.
like, that is the funniest thing.
That is
To
funny.
gain
I thought you were going to
revenue.
mention that it was the sign that says this business is registered as a bar, not a restaurant, or a restaurant, not a bar, because those are things they have to have in the windows in Utah.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they're funny about alcohol there.
Well, the religion of
Yeah,
pretty much the city slash kind of doesn't allow for alcohol, so
Yeah. So it's just very strict.
makes sense. I mean, in Maryland, you're only allowed to sell
Maryland is
alcohol
also
in
weird.
alcohol stores.
yeah.
So
Canada's like that too, though.
asterisk, it depends on the county.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland.
And in the UK, I could literally walk down the street.
Yeah.
And hit
Related
5
note,
pubs.
I was honestly kind of surprised that they were able to sell alcohol at the World Hopper Ball. Like, I don't know if they needed to get like additional permitting for that, but I was surprised.
They had to get specific permitting for it, and the bartenders had to use a special like thingamabob for like pouring the alcohol. They were so annoyed about it. The bartenders were so mad about having to use this like weird contraption. Like they were getting so frustrated with it.
Okay. And Wayne likes muscle mummies. That's my only other note on this chapter set.
It's a thing.
Wayne likes people who yell at him.
He might have issues.
Don't say it.
Anything else for this chapter set
Nope. Moving on.
before we head into the spoiler section? Okay. Well, next time we're going to be covering chapters 13, 14, and 15, which is technically the end of part 2, but there's no parts, so who really knows anymore? Who knows? But for now, it's time to head into the spoiler realm. So if you have not finished this book, the entire series, or potentially the entire Cosmere, then we recommend you stop here because it is likely that we will talk about everything and anything. If you are caught up, feel free to stick around because it is likely we will bring up details one may have missed or plot threads still yet to come. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, star, heart, or whatever it is on this podcast. Don't be afraid to comment your own thoughts and predictions. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on our socials via the link tree in our description. But if this were this part, then my name is Rita Warrior. I have been joined by Swiggity Swoo,
Take everything we say with a pinch of copper.
John,
Wayne's a sub.
Kay. Hey, please move.
A couple pinches of copper.
Hey.
Have a good one.
And thank you very much for joining us once again, Jason. Where can people find you, perhaps?
Yeah, so primarily on YouTube at youtube.com/@Jasonian, where I make video essays as if they were from the inside of the Cosmere. I pride myself on my locations and production value, and if you want to learn more about the Cosmere, way more than you probably would ever want to know, you can go there. I'm also found on TikTok at the same name and Instagram as Jasonian the World Hopper. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for joining us. And don't forget, there's always another connection. Bye. Been on recording?
Yep.
Okay, we'll come back in 3, 2, and we're back. Spoilers.
And gummy
Okay.
bears.
And legs.
So chapter 10. Marasi at the beginning is wondering what would have happened if she hadn't shown up. What would have happened in the greater terms of Era 2 if Marasi hadn't decided to come and almost get blown up?
Honestly, I don't know how much would be different, especially at this point in time.
Well,
Like specifically with this book, like at this point in time with the book, like Marasi hasn't been doing a lot. So like
well, she has made good observations and pointed some things out, so presumably the investigation would have gone slower. which means Wax would catch on later, and maybe the Vanishers get away with it. I don't know.
If I recall, Wax. Marasi doesn't mention anything that Wax didn't already notice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. She has, at the end of this book, that big capture moment.
But she does. Well, no, that's before. Never mind.
Yeah, I say so. She is instrumental in capturing and getting like Miles and like his crew and stuff. Because she uses her speed bubble to get the police there. So that is like an instrumental point of the book, but that's kind of it that she does in this book.
She's also the only one Iron Eyes wanted to converse with, because he's like, Wax would not trust me. Wayne, I don't want to talk to that guy. That leaves you.
Wax might have been dead, if I'm remembering correctly, during the fight in the ballroom.
See, that's what I was thinking of.
Oh, but
that's before she goes to visit him at his house.
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind. The Iron Eyes thing. I think also a lot of the events of Bands of Mourning might not have happened because Wax was being a bit of a grouch, understandably so. And Harmony's just like, well, if my sword's not gonna go, I'm gonna send the dagger. And Wax kind of came along begrudgingly there. So
that's kind of the philosophical question of this part, where God literally wants this to happen, and he would have made it happen.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Well, we certainly wouldn't have got to learn Wayne's backstory.
At this juncture, no.
I mean, maybe there probably would have been some other flashback or something, but
So speaking of Wayne and his character, there's a line that I remembered in my reread for this, because I read the chapters assigned, and then I also just went back to the beginning and started listening to it again. And there's a line that I think is quite interesting. You might have mentioned it in your previous recordings, but it's when Wayne is trying to interrogate Wax after the Colmeses leave. Mm-hmm. And it's you're meant to be helping people, mate. It's what you do. So that's in this book, and it's also huge for Wayne in the Lost Metal. It's a quote that they put on his grave, and I think that is just really emblematic of who Wayne is. Even when he fails, and despite his shortcomings as a person, he means well. He means to be helping people. And I know he's telling this to Wax, but I also think it's a bit for himself, because he sees Wax as this legendary figure, this partner, this person who made him who he is. And he's meant to be helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I remember how much discussion there used to be on Wayne's character when there was that big old time between Bands of Mourning and the Lost Metal, and you had that scene where Wayne kind of goes and harasses the girl, and it's like, this is not a good thing for a character to be doing. He is torturing this poor woman. He is making her relive something she very much does not want to face. And I think there's a line in this chapter where, or the next one, or one of this chapter set, where he's like, I send all the money that I get to the family. That's fine. But him coming and punishing himself and also punishing her by making her say, you killed my father, is not good. And you can see Brandon, between Bands of Mourning and the Lost Metal, listen to that, hear that, and recognize that you sort of have all those moments in the Lost Metal where we we make him not a bad character or not a rude character.
He grows,
He grows.
as good characters should.
Yes.
And as bad as he is, he's still better than like any character in like a Joe Abercrombie book. You know, we're all
Still
spoiled for
better than
good role
Twilight.
models in
Mhm.
Sanderson's writing.
There are good things to take away from Wayne. There is a lot of good things, but there are also things one should recognize as this is not something you should aspire, try to mimic or copy. He is a man that wants to atone for his sins, but you have to atone for your sins. You can't force that atonement on others.
Mhm.
Other fun details from chapter 10. Spook is the Lord Mistborn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Marewill flowers. um, so Mr. Suit is the uncle.
What?
The sister also survived because she's the one technically in charge of the set.
She's she is, what is her name?
Telson?
No, her code name.
Sequence.
Sequence. Thank you. That's what I was trying to do.
I like how this is set up, where if you don't know as a reader, you're kind of like forced along this path of asking the question, why did they murder him too? And it kind of stops you from asking, like, was he murdered? Because Wax pretty quickly latches onto that idea that, like, oh, they must be
This was all
targeting my
conspiracy
house.
against
Right.
me. I'm the main character.
And so the whole time you're like, I don't understand, how it fits together. That's because you've been given this like red herring.
Yeah. But my question is like, so did neither niece nor husband try to save the aunt?
Correct.
Man, that sucks.
She was collateral.
Uh,
She was.
She knew too much.
Unfortunately, she was.
Yeah.
She was not
Yeah.
part of their group. She was collateral damage.
She was also
Like-
too old to be shipped to the
A
the
baby making farm.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate. See, I'm
that's
very
another
glad.
interesting thing because this was supposed to be a standalone initially. So how was that going to be resolved, and how do you guys feel about the resolution to that plot thread?
So, I think you were supposed to infer that. I think we were going to get in era 3/2, depending upon when we are viewing this. It was going to be, oh, we are getting much more Mistborns, and maybe that was Brandon's way of revitalizing Allomancy into the system. A very messed up way of doing it, but yes. And then at one point they would find it, but it would be generations down, and maybe they have a whole new society and yada yada yada.
Whoa.
I think the way Brandon didn't want it to be a quote unquote breeding farm is handled very well. And I think they do a great job. And I think that at that point where Brandon had a better idea on where he wanted to go, he could sort of, now we're not going to we're not going to go with that idea as
Here's my thing,
reintroducing
though,
Allomancy.
right? Like, first of all, super glad it's not a breeding farm. Super glad that's not how it ended up. I'm really happy about that. Second of all, you took too long, like, for that book to come out. We said too much where I was picturing that being what it was. Too little, too late.
I do like that Kelsier calls basically Harmony out, but really it's preservation that he's calling out about what did you expect to happen when you made these incredible powers locked behind genetics?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
I think that by the time this book was coming to a close and it, maybe there's just a couple chapters left to write, or, maybe we're already in some of the rewriting process. I think deep down in his heart of hearts, Brandon knew there was going to be more of this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I really.
He liked writing these characters too much that I think by the end of writing this book, he kind of knew that he was going to write more, in some way, like in some sense.
I mean, there could have been like journal books in Era 2/3 from Wax's discoveries in hunting down this group and trying to figure out what happened to the women.
Well,
I could also see a timeline where Wax finds the women when he finds Terris in that hideout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
I feel like
I think these books are totally inspired. Like, kind of touching on the idea of him knowing that he was going to write more by the end of this book. Like, this setting and these characters are such a fantastic riff on the original trilogy. He must have known he had gold and aluminum.
And the thing with the kidnapped women is that by the time we were getting to the lost metal, nobody was even remembering them. People were just like, yeah, that's a thing. We're never going to see them again. And then Brandon's like, oh, here's a whole thing for Marasi to do that involves that group. So I'm like, everybody, what the heck? We completely forgot this was a thread from the beginning.
Yeah. And he did that on purpose because he wanted to connect it back to Alloy of Law, because I think he felt like Alloy of Law wasn't really connected to the other two books very well.
Was a bit too standalone.
It was a bit too standalone. Because he wrote Bands of Mourning and Shadows of Self at the same time. Because he was writing those two concurrently. Between those two releasing, like 3 months. Those released back to back. But and I think he felt those two fit together better than in the Alloy of Law kind of didn't fit with the other two as much, so he wanted to tie the Lost Metal back into Alloy of Law.
I do think this book is so much better on a reread, having the familiarity with the characters and being able to really just enjoy their interactions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reference to Renette, the gunsmith.
Mm-hmm. This is not the first reference to Renette, by the way.
No, it is not.
She was referenced previously as well.
It was like when he was putting away his guns, I think. Like he had commented it was Renette's work or
Renette's gonna kill me or something.
Yeah. You get Wayne's issue with guns hinted at.
Pretty much explained entirely.
Yeah.
Well, they don't comment on every time he holds a gun, his hands start to vibrate and he can no longer do it.
He does pretty much say it. He says, "I
It
don't know why my hands
he
get
tried
all
to shoot
wonky."
and he hit behind him.
Yeah, it's like he cannot shoot a gun.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like psychologically can't and what's her name from Trust of the Emerald Sea, which just needed glasses.
I did love that she just needed glasses. That was funny. Which, like, me too, girl. Me too.
So I think this is the only reference to to Wayne's dad is in this chapter, besides anything that might be in the prologue. It's like his dad was a terroristman. That's about it.
Yeah, even in his flashback, there's very mention of his dad. Because I think by the time that his prologue takes like that time, his dad was already dead.
So it has to be dead because I don't see a terroristman walking out on somebody.
No, his dad died. I do remember that. His dad died when he was really mine. He worked in the mine. And then his dad died in the mines, and then his mom started working in the mines. His mom also died in the mines.
Yeah.
So then he was orphaned at a fairly young age. So hence why he ended up on the streets robbing people. And then the robbery went wrong. I ended up accidentally killing someone.
Just in my mind, I'm having difficulty imagining a terroristman in like the roughs. Is that racist? I am not trying to imply that terroristmen, a fictional group of people, cannot go to the roughs and be cowboys. I am simply stating we have yet to see a point where any terroristmen outside of Twinborns are not the Sazed archetype.
That's right, man.
Um,
You tell this terroristman to stay
so-
in their lane.
With the exception of what's her name in Shadows.
I think there's, ethnically Terris, and then there's Terris, the race, right? So there are the people who are practicing the Terris culture and religion in Ellendale, and then there are people with just Terris blood in them. Like Wayne and Wax, they both went to the roughs. They're Terris technically. Like there's enough mixing. I don't think there's a problem with Wayne's dad being Terris or having Terris blood.
Like, Wayne comments like he knew he was Terris or something, so it was obviously a very easy way to read it as Terris. And didn't Wax grow up in the Terris?
He spent some of his youth
In the village.
in the village.
I believe
yeah.
it's called Little
think-
Terrace Town.
I think he spent a year there. A year or two.
Because he would only visit like during the summers, right?
He spent time there. Previously, I think he spent like before he lived there, because he moved there. Him and Telson moved there for I think a year or more. I think it's at least a year. I can't remember if it was.
Look it up. One
And
moment.
and Wax liked it there, but Telson did not. She was off doing other things, but Wax also didn't make any friends there because he is a stickler for the rule and he didn't know how to be like flexible.
Yep.
So, Wax is of mixed heritage with Terris on his mother's side and noble blood on his father's, and he is said to have more Terris blood than most. At the age of 12, his uncle began grooming him to run the family-operated central bank. At age 15, Wax spent a year in the village with the option to stay if he wished. During his last months, he encountered Forch, the twin-born Ferris who committed arson. That's about all I'm seeing.
Yeah. And I do remember that when he lived in the village, this is just like a side note. When he was living in the village,
What
he
was
was
that?
only allowed to use he wasn't allowed to use allomancy when he was living in the village. He was only allowed to use ferrochemy.
Who was twin-born abilities did Forge have? He was a coin shot and a pewter arm. Okay. I remember coin shot. Didn't remember the pewter. Okay.
Wouldn't that be a pewter ferrochemist? Not a
Yeah, a brute. Sorry, I said pewter arm.
yeah.
Yeah, brute. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got
Anything else?
spiked, I guess.
Anything else for chapter 10?
I'm good to move on.
Not really. Just one fun fact. Bands of Mourning was written before Shadows of Self.
Well, so he started writing Shadows of, and then he had issues with it, and so he put it down and then wrote Bands of Mourning and then came back to Shadows of Self,
Yep.
which is why they came out within like 3 months of each other.
That's
I just
wild.
wanted to add that real quick. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny because he was having trouble writing the Lessie story with like Bleeder and stuff. So he jumped forward because he was having trouble getting back into Mistborn in the world from because he switched from probably writing Stormlight um, and he was having trouble getting back into the world, and so he decided to write something to jump ahead a little bit and then come back.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
That's really interesting because that is like Bands of Mourning is when things start to get a little crazy, right? With like, oh, there's another society, and like right off the bat they leave Ellendale and go to another city, and so I can kind of see like getting away from Mistborn a little bit. Like that book does have some different elements.
Chapter 11, you get the Miles 100 Lives VOP, which I agree with Dan that I do find it weird, but I also think there's no better place to put it, and it honestly doesn't hurt the story to have it, so I'm kind of fine with it. It's just kind
Yeah.
of eh. They're building a metro,
It would
Trell.
be it. So I do agree with that as well a little bit because like think about uh the gut punch of the end of 12, like how that would be if you didn't have 11, like if you didn't have that scene where you see Miles and then suddenly like they're investigating and you then Wax sees Miles, he's like, oh shit, like I was right. Like
Yeah. But like I'm also envisioning in my mind like the transition between 10 and 11. Maybe like there's a poster with his face on it as they're getting into their car. He's like, "Let me tell you some stories," and then the camera moves along, sees the poster, and then the poster fades into side panel of Miles's face. Like I can see it visually looking really smooth going in between them.
Could have done a flashback of the last time Wax and Miles saw each other.
Yeah. You get Mr. Suit. Oh, hate that guy.
it would be interesting to see like if this like was a movie, like how
Yeah.
they would portray like Mr. Suit. Like I think it would be kind of cool to have him be like kind of like either like in the dark or like you only hear his voice or you don't see his like face, you just like body or something. I think that would be kind of cool, like way
Totally.
I also
That's
think
totally from Inspector Gadget.
I think it could be that, and or there was a comment a while ago that all the paintings or portraits in House
Ladrin.
Wax, yeah, Ladrian. I thought it was Ladrian, but I was stuck on it. House Ladrian were like cold or removed or something. Like you just don't have any posters of what the uncle looked like, and when you do the flashback, just show like people bumping in the carriage, the girl screaming or something, but you don't show him really. And so you could, if you don't show his face and anything else, show his face here, or you can keep them both in shadow. Eh. But I worry that keeping it in shadow and not showing is kind of too obvious of a hint that it is him. You mean, uh, do.
Maybe.
Trell. Do we want to talk about Trell?
This is kind of just our first the first mention of Trail that we have. For those in our listening audience who do not remember, or our podcast who do not remember who Trell is an avatar of autonomy. Autonomy is the shard of um, Taldane.
Autonomy.
Yeah, is the shard from Taldane, which is
Autonomy is the shard of autonomy.
I thought you
from
were
my
gonna
fan.
say
I'm tired.
if you're fans of our podcast, like back when we started this podcast, we didn't know what Trell was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We sat around and theorized about that, and we were pretty sure. I'm sure we must have thought it was autonomy. Like, we must have
That was
theorized
the
that.
comment. We didn't know it was Wax's sister.
Mhm.
Yeah. But so
So imagine
Trell, yeah,
Imagine
Trell is the
Miles
shard
and-
of autonomy. Is that because autonomy is trying to get a foothold in Scadrial, which is very interesting.
Imagine if Miles knew that the god he worships is technically kind
His
of
boss.
that guy's niece and boss.
Also, Wax's sister.
Also
like-
Wax's sister. Like, imagine explaining this all to Miles and just seeing him have like a mental seizure. Just like,
You mean to tell me that one of the elites became God?
I don't know how I'm supposed to deal with this, but I've got a gun, so I'll do it the Skadrian way.
Mhm.
I feel like that's I don't know that. I feel like there's a character in Stormlight who's a little bit like that. Taln. I could almost see him having the similar energy based on some things we learned in Stormlight 5, but that's
Yeah.
totally other side of the universe.
Well, I have to wonder, what is the in-world reason and what is Brandon's reason for moving from Trelligism to Trellism?
My thought is that it's to show that it's kind of a different thing, that it's not the exact same thing. Like, it's pulling from that, but there is something different going on here.
I guess. Well, the thing was, there was a huge thing about, oh, Trelligism sounds an awful lot like Taldane's system. So it's like that was already a connection there.
You can't see it right now, but I am looking you dead in the eyes, going, really?
Would
Really?
you like me to move on?
That is, you've had some thin threads connecting things before, but I think this is a new personal best. It kind of sounds like it.
Well, it does. Here, I'll pull up.
Not
let me pull up-
really.
Here, let me pull up Trelligism. Let me pull up Trelligism.
Barely, my dude.
Telegism.
I'm
Telling system.
I'm gonna ship you a tinfoil hat.
It's a slant rhyme.
Aluminum. It needs to be aluminum.
Doesn't count.
I suppose it does.
Trelligism. Here it is. Okay.
What did you pull up? A map?
I pulled up. Trelligism is a religion on schedule that worshipped the god Trell, so it worships the same god. Trelligism was a dualist religion. Trell's opposite Nault, and the two believed to be brothers. Trelligists believed that the night was beautiful and daylight was profane. During the night, Trelligists were able to see the thousand eyes of Trell's stars watching over them. Nault would shine a single eye on the land during the day, blocking them from seeing Trell's eyes. There's a huge focus on day and night, sun and stars, which is a huge thing on day side, light side, day side, night side, day side, dark side.
Right.
But also argue, this religion is also similar to the Pure Lake religion as well.
It is?
There is no substantial link between Trelligism and the dualist religion of the Pure Lakers concerning New Ralek and Vun Makak. It is unclear whether the god Nault has any connection to the planet Nalthus. Trelligism was created by Autonomy in an attempt to leave a seed of herself on the planet for when she decided to move in.
Yeah. And then there's this from The Lost Metal, which is Moonlight talking to Marasi. Trellism. Trellism is the remnants of an ancient religion on your world, originally founded by Autonomy long, long ago. A seed for when she decided to move in. Now that time has come, Autonomy is looking for someone on this planet to fully take up that role and identity. So, in my mind, that is in text confirmation that Trellism and Trelligism were the same religion or derived. Trellism derived from Trelligism. Um, just kind of an evolution of that concept, but both worshiping autonomy.
And that makes it
I
makes
remember that.
sense. It makes sense from a realistic point of view that there would be changes like, but just I don't understand Brandon's reason to do it, considering you can
Are
have
you just talking about changing the name?
yes.
Words just change, reader, over time. Words change over time. That's
like-
just what happens. We drop letters all of the time in
I know,
linguistics.
but I'm just wondering if
if you look at if you look at etymology of words and you look at the study of words and how language grows and change, we drop letters and sounds in words all of the time. This is a very regular thing to happen. So it is not unsurprising that Trelligism changed to Trellism, that they dropped that G because that G is kind of awkward in the word when you say it.
well, that's what I'm wondering if, like,
It's
God
just a
stays in harmony.
linguistic thing.
No,
God
I
stays
see
in
where you're
harmony.
coming from, because 300 years ago, presumably Harmony put this in the words of founding in his religions area. So like from 300 years to now, with it being like in text, like in the words of founding, the only thing that I can think of to justify the change is autonomy, because she is meddling and she's like, I don't know why the ancient Scadrians added this G in here. I named it after this random dude from Taldane. You're going to call it Trellism now. And that's just what it's going to be.
I'm wondering if, like, God saw that harmony, made that book, and he's like, it's like, Spook, my Lord Mistborn, you are going to take this, and this shall be the constitution for your whole new society. And Spook opens it up, and then his nose sniffs in the very first pollen of this new age and sneezes onto the book and wipes it away and accidentally smudges the G.
Oh God.
He's just like, shoot, sorry about that.
I think
I guess
it is-
Harmony should have put it in steel. Huh?
Boom.
I still think that it is just a natural progression of words changing and shifting, because we have that all of the time. We have that in our modern era as well.
A great one.
With words.
5 years ago, the word was charisma. Now it's Riz.
Yeah.
But charisma's still a word.
But like, also like we have you all, we've shortened into y'all. Like there are things that get shifted and changed over time, that are unsurprising, and it's generally you're dropping consonant to make things flow easier. So
But in a
This whole
why are the
conversation
curtains
has
blue
gone
sense,
just way over the cliff. Like,
Okay. In the second half of this chapter, we get cadmium and pulsars, and I think this is Brandon slowly building into the idea of stasis fields or longevity pods for space age. Because that is really the only good usage of this power.
the cadmium.
Yeah.
What
it's
about
the obvious good usage for this power.
we came up with like 14 earlier that were pretty dope.
Yeah, but they were all sitting in one place guarding a thing.
Yeah.
This is, we're on a spaceship, we need to survive going from Schedule to Roshar.
So you're thinking that when they do like
I just figured out
FTL,
Hanukkah. It was a pulsar.
they're gonna put up cadmium.
And Jesus was a blood maker. We don't want to do
Among
this,
other
John.
things. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm regretting myself now.
Words and deeds.
What were we saying, Swiggity?
You think they're gonna put people in cryo freeze with cadmium?
Yeah, especially with the harmonium, the cubes. If you just get like one person, slot the cube in the thing, everybody rests against a wall, and 3 seconds later to them, they're on the other side of the Cosmere.
Bob's your uncle.
Exactly. Get a little Duralumin in there.
Doug's your uncle.
Doug's your uncle. Ah! Okay. Anything else for this chat?
I actually
chapter
have an
11?
Uncle Doug.
I also have an Uncle Doug.
That's funny. That's I read that in
Chapter
a
12.
book somewhere. There's a Doug in every society.
So Christianity comes from the Greek Christianismos,
Oh my god.
from the practice of being a Christian.
Webster's dictionary defines Doug as
What?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Are
Okay.
there any more
Chapter 12.
Cosmere Connections in chapter
Yeah.
12 you wanted to bring up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's see. Chapter 12.
late.
Oh shit! I didn't bring it up. But at the point when Wayne's trying to figure out how to do that guy's voice, all of the what's its are differently spelled slightly, and I just love that detail.
That's awesome. I did not know that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's like what's its, and it's got like a Z, and then it's one word, and it's two S's, and it's really kind of smart. I love that detail. This is where we kind of go into the bubbles a bit, and Brandon kind of later decides against this, right? Like he walked back on Wax being a steel savant, and he kind of walked back on what bubbles can technically do.
Does Wayne never get the ability to move his bubble?
He in the Lost
No.
Metal at the very beginning, doesn't he walk it? He
No.
walks
Mm-mm.
into
No,
Marasi's.
Mm-mm. No, he cannot move his bubble. He can change the shape of his bubble. In the Lost Metal, he's able to change the shape of it,
Okay.
but he's not able to move it.
But that's the first step in being able to move it. After all, if you change the shape of your bubble, then move into a different part of the bubble, and then change the shape again such that it extends further out in the direction you just moved from and less in the direction behind you, you've
No.
officially moved your bubble.
I say it's more so that he doesn't have to make his bubble in a circle around him anymore. He can kind of like when he puts up the bubble, it doesn't have to be in a circle. Like it can be in a different shape.
I could have sworn in that first fight with Marasi and Wayne, at one point she's keeping them all trapped, and then Wayne walks into it, and then with his own bubble.
I think he puts up his own bubble inside of her bubble.
So you think Kelsier's big thing is that he hates how all of the investiture is like based on genetics, and he's trying to make it available to everybody?
Maybe. Be interesting to think
I
about.
could totally see that as a theme, because like, especially in Bands of Mourning, they start getting those allomantic grenades, and the medallions is basically a way of giving that power to everybody.
I mean, it's implied that Kelsier might have sown the seeds for the set, sown the seeds for an organization dedicated to bringing about more people with the metallic arts. Because he agrees with what the set is trying to do, at least their end goal, not necessarily their means by which they're getting there. He knows that to survive the Cosmere and what's coming, Scadrial needs either more Mistborn, more Feruchemists, or a way to democratize the magic and put it in more people's hands.
Right. So that third option, it almost now sounds like is more of an ends to a means than a real ideology.
Kelsier has always been a ends justify the means type of person.
Mhm.
Did you guys find what you were looking for?
I'm not going to spend the 15 minutes of rereading the first 6 chapters.
That's probably
Just
wise.
just to probably be wrong and be corrected by Kay once again.
He's learning.
He is learning.
Ah, I hate the fact I'm being treated like a dog.
Fair. Sorry
Uh,
about that.
Wayne really does love women who just beat him up. Looking at Renette.
It's a
Also, he
thing.
likes
And
women. Yeah, he likes beat him up. He also likes women who don't necessarily like him back.
he's only after
Yeah.
toxic relationships.
It's probably because that's what he thinks he deserves.
Yeah.
He's a sub.
That's so true.
So
So insightful.
on the comment of putting up a slowness bubble around a speed bubble, whichever one is Marasi's bubble and then Wayne's inside of that, I would assume that it doesn't just pop them both. That is just whoever's in Wayne's bubble is just simply moving at normal time. But since outer time looks sped up / slowed down, it just looks weird. Okay, so how do I word this? So if I have 3 watches, person watch A is on the outside. He's outside. He's not getting into any bubbles. Watch B is the first person to start their bubble. This is Marasi, in which their time starts speeding up. They start getting a faster time, right? If
No.
I were to have Wayne start his watch, opening his bubble inside of that, his watch would match the
one
person A's.
outside. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
It is not that Marasi's bubble also pops, because hers is still going at its increased rate. It's just that the now inside bubble of slow time matches regular time compared to sped up time.
I think it just pops.
Does it pop?
But we see it, I thought.
We see speed bubbles overlap, and I think the lost metal. And so 2 speed bubbles can overlap and have kind of a multiplicative effect, but a slowness bubble, as soon as it comes in contact with a speed bubble, they both just fall.
Well, I'm saying not in common but if one's inside of one, where it's not.
I don't think you can put one inside of one because it's space time. It's not necessarily.
It's the volume, not a surface area. And I tend to agree with that because in order for them to have cumulative effects with one another, you have to take into account the relative strength of each individual pulsar / slider and how strong they are and how greatly they can warp time. I.e.,
Yes.
like a weak slider who can only speed up time a little bit versus a very, very strong pulsar who can slow time a whole lot will have a different net outcome than just normal time.
Yes. In my example, I was doing it. One is speeding up by 25%, one is slowing down by 25 or half, by 2 times and half. I was putting it purely at that level, when in actuality you would have different levels of strength for the different mistings. I'm way too tired to be talking this level of temporal
Yeah,
mechanics.
I think we're kind of just circling the drain here. I think
Yeah.
it might be time to
Okay.
close us out.
Well, the only thing left is the claw.
The what?
The,
But
the machine to grab the
claw.
car,
Yes.
the train car.
Claw.
Yeah.
True.
Because they're not taking everything out of the car. They're just taking the car.
Because that's so much less effort than actually just robbing the train car.
Yep.
Nope. Well, a
Miles
lot
and
of
his
effort to
theatrics.
make it for little effort to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe there's a
It's
guy
a
in
lot
their
to go
crew
through
named Clamps.
Wonder what he works.
Didn't they steal that from Futurama?
Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
I have
story.
I have an Imperial Knight model that has 2 claws that I call clamps after the character from Futurama.
That's awesome. Get him with the clamps.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. With that, I think we're done. Unless anybody has anything
Yeah.
else for this chapter set.
Why did they Why did they take the G out of Trellis?
I was waiting for that. Do we want to rehash Trelligism versus Trellism? Well, that's going to just about cover it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us in our Ramblings and Predictions. This has been Cosmere Connections, and we hope you'll tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Goodbye.
Jason, thank you
That
so
was a
much
lot of
for.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank
was a
you
good
for
time.
joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I didn't tell you all this, but I did straight up have a student tell me to my face in class that she has not read a single book since she was in elementary school. And in fact, all the books that she had to read for school, she just has been putting into ChatGPT for summaries. And I was like, damn, okay. Thank you for that. Me as
Wow.
your eighth grade English teacher, thank you for informing me of this.
Love to hear it. Way to go.
That's badass.
Totally forgot that I was muted.
She was
I'm good.
cursing me out that entire time.
Uh,
Stupid reader taking the ball chapter.
It's a good chapter.
So for also Jasonian, for context, I took every single ball chapter that there was in Era 1.
Everyone.
and that's why I get
Every-
all the Light Song chapters.
You do not get all the Light Song chapters.
do
I will
too.
fight you on that.
Bring it.
Yeah, boy.
It's all right. I'm going to be racking in those Kaladin chapters someday.
That would be so funny. Just every single Kaladin chapter in the entire Stormlight archive. And what would be even better is if you don't address it. And just the listeners are like, wait a minute. Why is Swiggity the only one who talks about Kaladin? I don't. Are they doing this on purpose?
He's
Why do we
literally
have
doing
this
half of the
episode?
chapters.
Yeah. Why do we have this episode? We're the only one who's giving chapter summary.
It's sweet.
Right. And for the next chapter, oh, it's me. Me too. Weird. Anyways, in this one, my boy Kaladin. And it's all like
direct continue.
When
I'm
you
just
know
his
it,
number
express-
one fan the whole time.
This one technically starts as a Dalinar point of view, but it has Kaladin's point of view, so I think I'm going to call dibs on that one.
This is the first time Kaladin's legs are mentioned.
It is confirmed he has legs. Huge.
Okay. Ready to get back into it?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, Swiggity all
Yeah, back in my day, we actually had to read Spark Notes to cheat our way through those
Yeah.
quests.
And I
remember that one being gosh,
That
what
should
was
be a
that
segment
called?
on the show. We've been flirting with the idea of doing a little bit of trivia. It's like, but what if it was just like, everybody name a gun?
And for
I'm still
Swiggity's neutral special, he uses a gun.
a liberator. That's what it was.
Vindication.
Suspicious attempt. Oh, thank you.
then I thought
But yeah,
Swiggity
I'm
was just
working.
naming the gun. Um,
Swiggity,
Wax's
I am
gun.
working very hard on those trivia questions.
Oh,
I am
nice.
now halfway through Well of Ascension. I've got a few more questions written down. I'm going to have to do this in a Jeopardy style and giving them like sections because some of these
Reader,
have no.
for context, Reader is creating trivia questions based on our podcast on things that we have said. And he's going to ask us questions about about
Oh,
who
these are
said
going to
what.
be impossible. This is going to be like, how many times did Swiggity start a sentence and then trail off and then just end up saying it was cool?
Like, what was one I added recently? In the episode of references, how many did we make? Extra point for each one you can guess.
Oh, jeez.
What's the episode
I
of
don't even know what
references?
episode you're referencing.
I'm being vague right now. Like, what chapter should no longer be a weenie?
I know there was one time where we didn't have K and it was like boys' night or whatever, and we just kept cracking jokes about Star Wars.
Yep.
Yep. Trust me, I listened to that one recently. I've got a whole bunch, but the problem is I can't section them very well. Because if I just have one be like Swiggity, then the answer have to be like Swiggity's not allowed to answer any of this. If I have one labeled K,
I think
can't have
Swiggity
K
should still
answer.
be. I think we should still be allowed to answer the ones for ourselves because I don't think we'll remember.
I kind of think so too, Kay. I think
at least
I
I know.
think that's a legit concern.
Yeah, like I know myself. I know I don't remember half the things that I say. So like,
I will say there's been times I've been listening back to like edit it or whatever, and like it's really satisfying when I'm listening to one of you guys say something, and in my head I'm like, oh, but what about this? And then me in the past says it. I'm like, hey.
That's got to be a good feeling.
Then.
And it's especially when I totally forgot. It's like, hell yeah.
Jason,
Swiggity, did
thank
you-
you for showing up. Sorry about all
Yeah,
the
thanks for
hecticness
coming
that
on.
was the past
Yeah.
3-4 weeks.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here. I love the Alloy of Law, and it has been a crazy, crazy time. So, but yeah, I guess one more fun thing to show you guys before we begin, because I'm really just stalling for a little bit of time because my 3D printer is printing things and it's a little noisy, but it's relevant to the discussion. So you know those like garbage, like 3D printed dragons that are everywhere? I made a Larkin one of those.
Oh, that is so cute.
That is
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay, that's awesome.
So I've been printing a bunch of them pretty much nonstop, and I will bring them to Nexus for people to probably purchase because they're pretty neat. I've also got like
Yeah.
magnets at the bottom, so you can put a piece of metal or a magnet on your shirt, and
That
it'll
is so
like,
cool.
hang out there.
Whoa.
That is so awesome.
That's nice.
Le Flexi
Yeah.
Larkin.
I freaking love that. Oh, that's so cool.
I made this like a little while ago, and you just pop it
Oh,
on
that's
so you
cool.
can put it in your shirt.
Starfleet
immediately what I was
officer.